Why do we feel so much lack in society, and why is it normal? Why is it normal to be alone and then not feel whole and complete? It's like we've normalized in society to be codependent on other people. That's what we've normalized. We've normalized codependency. We've normalized living in a poverty consciousness, living in a lack consciousness, and that's just considered normal. I think that it's considered normal, but I think that there's also a better way to do things. Slavery was considered normal hundreds of years ago, but was it the most optimal way to be a human being? Absolutely not. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you how to actually deal with this sense of loneliness and deal with this sense of lack that is within us that's considered normal in society, which I think it's normal, but I don't think it has to be. I don't think that this is the way that it has to be. And so I want to share with you how to transcend this feeling of lack. And I'm also going to be sharing with you as a bonus the difference between what it means to just be alone and feel lack. Because you can be alone, but you don't have to feel like you're lacking something in your own presence. See, that's something that we create. We create the feeling of lack. Being alone is something that doesn't have to be horrible. It can be a good thing. You can feel genuinely good being alone, but we've normalized to feel lack. We've normalized codependency. And I'm going to share with you how to transcend that and how to deal with loneliness and lack and get to a higher level of consciousness where you don't have to depend emotionally on anything outside of you to feel whole and complete. So if you're new to this channel, what I want you to do is I want you to hit that subscribe button. I want you to hit that notification bell because I do post a new video every single day. Also, if you want to work with me one-on-one personally, hit the link that's in the description box of this video to apply for a free consultation. Also, I do have a group program coming up, so if you want more details on that, hit the link that's in the description box of this video for more info on that as well. So, what's the first thing that you can do to not feel lonely and to not feel lack? Here's the thing, is that you don't need to be dependent on anything outside of you. So the first thing I want to share with you is that nothing outside of you is going to bring you this sense of completeness. Nothing outside of you is going to help you feel better. We think that the relationship is going to help us feel better. We think that the soulmate is going to make us feel better. We think that the twin flame is going to make us feel better. We think that the drugs, the fast food, the instant gratification, we think that something outside of us is going to make us feel better. And you've heard this all before, but the true growth happens when you genuinely realize, when you can truly see in your experience that no matter how much you chase, you still feel that sense of I am not enough. You still feel it. You know, I've tried it before. I've tried to look outside myself, and it never ends up working. And then when you realize it's not working, what's the alternative? What's the alternative? Because there has to be an alternative, right? The alternative is to go within yourself. But you got to go within yourself because you realize first that nothing outside of you is going to fix that. Because if I stand here and I tell you with my voice to go look within yourself, right? You've heard that before. Go within yourself, right? Love yourself first before you can love somebody else. You've heard that before, but nobody listens and nobody does it. Why? Because they haven't realized the pain of chasing outside of you and realizing that it doesn't cause fulfillment. You gotta realize that first. Because once you realize that you're looking over here, you're looking over there, you're trying to find fulfillment in things outside of you, and then you're still feeling this feeling of a lack no matter where you go, no matter what your ego wants to cling on to, no matter what you want to cling on to in your life, you still feel lack. Then your soul, your heart is going to find an alternative, which is of course to look within yourself. But the first thing I want to share with you is that nothing outside of you is going to fill that void of lack. If you don't take my word for it, well, then I invite you to not take my word for it. I invite you to go find a relationship. But then here's what happens. Most people have a relationship and they feel good. They feel that little high. It's like a dirty high almost. And then when something goes wrong in the relationship, or then maybe the relationship goes south, unfortunately, that's just what can happen in life sometimes. Well, then what happens is that now they are left broken. And that's not normal. Now, I'm not saying it's not normal to feel an emotional reaction in life when it comes to losing a relationship, or to deal with grief, or to deal with things in life. That's just a part of being human. But at the same time though, is it really just part of being human? Is it really? It is, but is it something that we can transcend? Can we actually transcend this feeling of codependency on something outside of ourselves? Is that possible? Is it possible? I'm not saying that's what it is. Actually, well, I am, but I'm also just proposing an idea to you. Is it possible that we can have a relationship, but we don't need to be dependent on the relationship to feel fulfilled in our hearts? We don't need to do these things. You can still participate in the pleasures of life, but there's not going to be a codependency or an attachment. So I'm not saying that, sometimes even if you're not codependent, that, you lose a relationship and then there's the feeling of sadness. That's okay. That's okay. That's normal, so to speak. Even though I think that to some degree these things can be transcended. I also think that it's something that we don't need to be holding on to as much as we are. I'm not saying you have to be this enlightened being that never feels emotions, that never feels sadness, that never feels grief. Like, I feel like I'm alone sometimes. I feel like I'm not enough sometimes. That's just part of life. But then what I realize is that if I, from that space of being in a low vibration, if I try to find something outside of me, well, then it doesn't work. Go test it for yourself. Be in the low vibration that you're in, and then go find a relationship from that place. It just won't work. You can go find a relationship from a higher vibrational frequency where you actually feel good. That's the solution. Now, so here's the second thing we can do. Find enjoyment being alone. Enjoy your own presence. That's the difference between being lonely and being alone. For the most part, I enjoy my own space. I got to the point in my life where I actually realized that I genuinely felt more lack chasing a relationship than just following my purpose and doing what I love and being in my space. So it's like, even if I go outside of myself to chase something, it's just like, I know that it's just not going to work. And that's how it is for most people. They chase outside of themselves, but they think it's going to work. They think that it's still going to give them the fulfillment. But I got to the point where I realized it's just not going to work. It's just not going to work to go chase something outside of me. So when I feel that loneliness, I know that the answer is not outside of me. Now, am I saying that having a mentor is not powerful? No. Am I saying that having a partner is not powerful? No. Am I saying that to some degree we don't need each other as humans and we need to support each other? No. I think that from a certain perspective, we do need each other. We do need to support each other. But I think that from a deeper spiritual perspective, we also don't need anything outside of us, and we can find the true source of abundance that is within our own consciousness. Now, here's the interesting thing. Life is a reflection, and sometimes somebody outside of you will point you to the truth that is within you. But the thing is, that person is a reflection of you, so they are an extension of you that pointed you to the truth within you, but they are you showing yourself the truth that is within you. So what does this mean? Even if another person outside of you helps you to feel better, which sometimes is the case, they are just pointing to a deeper truth that is within you because they are a reflection of you. So even if you get the relationship but they help you feel better, even if you get the mentor and they help you feel better, they are not the source of that abundance. They are simply the thing that is a reflection of your own source, bringing a feeling within you that's making you feel good. But even if that person made you think that they generated that feeling, you actually generated that feeling because they are just a reflection of you, because we all come from the same consciousness. So you can go outside of you and feel better, but at the very core though, what you can do as well is find enjoyment in being in your own space. Find enjoyment being by yourself. The most beautiful experiences you'll ever have in your life are in your own energy, are in your own space. Now, some of the most beautiful experiences I've had have been also with other people, but there's some experiences that no person can ever give me. It's just something that is for me to experience, for me to feel, for me to go into. That's my experience. That's my personal sanctuary of, for example, meditating or just being in my own space, or even feeling that loneliness and going deeper into that loneliness just to realize that I cleansed it and that I had to go through that. Sometimes even the lower vibrational emotions when we're alone can be a beautiful aspect of life. It's the highs and lows. So find enjoyment being in your own space and realize that there's nothing wrong with being alone, but there is something wrong. I'm not saying there's anything wrong, but there can be an issue in regards to how you feel when you are feeling lonely. But it doesn't have to be that way. You can feel better when you're alone than actually when you're with somebody. I'm gonna say that again. You can get to the point where you genuinely feel better by yourself in comparison to when you chase somebody. That's what I realized. And when I realized that, what was the alternative? Why would I go in the direction that's making me feel lack? That doesn't make any sense, right? Why would I consciously go in a direction where I realize that I don't feel good going in a direction, but I'm just gonna keep going? It doesn't make sense. Why would I inflict that pain towards myself? Because that was when I really started to shift my consciousness. That was like the breakthrough where I had to go deeper into myself, because I genuinely saw that there's nothing outside of me that's gonna make me feel better. So even if I feel lonely, I can't play victim and then go find a relationship from that space of lack, because I know it's not going to make me feel better. It's going to be pleasurable. It's going to feel instantly gratifying, but then you wake up in the morning and you still feel lack. At the end of the day, you still feel lack. You still feel that void. So find enjoyment being in your own space. Have you ever even gotten to know who you truly are? Have you ever gotten to know yourself, right? Have you ever gotten to know the trueness of what you are and who you are? Have you ever sat with yourself for a couple months just being single? There's nothing wrong with that. You know, a relationship is a commitment. And if you need to love yourself first, well then do that. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being in your own space, because that's where you're gonna find true fulfillment. Now, the third thing I wanna share with you, and this is a little bit tricky because you gotta be careful with this one, but the third thing is have a purpose. Have a sense of purpose and structure in your life that generates a feeling of validation within yourself. Because you gotta be careful here, because even in the thing that you're doing in your life, if you're seeking to feel good in your purpose, in the thing that you're doing, well then that's also an issue, because that's gonna eventually create suffering down the line as well. If you depend on your career to feel not lonely, because you could do the same thing. Like you could seek outside of you in a relationship to feel peace, but then you can also do the same thing in your work. We get workaholics, right? They're filling that void in their business, working 15-hour days. Now, I love to work on my business too for many hours a day, but I know at the very core, that's not gonna fulfill my soul. I know at the very core, that's not what's going to allow me to feel the abundance that's within me. So what you want to do is, though, have a purpose anyways. Because even having a purpose can bring you one step closer to not seeking relationships outside of you. Now, but here's the beautiful thing though. It's not the thing that you're doing, it's the feeling that you get from the purpose that you are in the act. Like when you're in the act of being in alignment with your purpose, what happens is that that purpose generates a feeling within you. But it's not to depend on the purpose to think, oh, this thing is what's giving me true peace, or this thing is what's allowing me to feel abundant. It's not about that. It's about just being in the flow state with your purpose to such a high level that you start to, like, you're generating the feelings from within your own consciousness, but you're still just doing stuff just to do it. But still though, like, I noticed that when I don't have a sense of purpose, for example, when I am not following my purpose, I tend to feel a little bit ungrounded. What grounds me in this reality is to have a sense of structure. Now, could it be my ego still not going deeper into myself? Probably. That probably could be a factor. But at the same time though, I think that a purpose and a sense of structure is very important, because when you can have a sense of purpose and a sense of structure and you learn to follow your passion, what happens is that you can begin to generate this feeling of abundance without having a relationship. Now, again, that can turn into just as much of a trap as a relationship. So just be careful. But just keep in mind though that following your passion can generate a lot of abundance within you. But don't be codependent on the passion either, and develop a sense of identity around the passion, because that's also going to actually stop you from truly feeling abundance in your life. The purpose is just an outlet to express the abundance that you found within yourself when you learn to go within. So it's just like, once you find the abundance within you, well, what's the first thing you can do? Is start to spread that abundance in the form of some artistic expression. But you don't want to depend on the artistic expression. So what's the simple answer to really overcome this feeling of lack? Go deeper into that feeling of loneliness. Go deeper into that feeling of lack. But don't identify with it. Because you can feel into this lack all you want, but if you're attached to it, you're just causing pain for yourself unnecessarily, you know? So don't attach to it. When I feel lonely, for example, and then I go into my meditations, and then I sit with that feeling, turn on my binaural beats, turn on my gongs. Sometimes I use gongs to meditate a lot deeper. I'll record a separate video on that one day eventually. When I'm meditating, I can literally feel into that feeling of lack, but then I also feel that feeling of lack fading away out of my experience as I sit there in my meditation. That's what it tangibly means to overcome the feeling of loneliness. You sit with the feeling of loneliness until you just start to feel abundant in your own presence, because your own presence is the abundance. You are the abundance. Just the feeling of being present is going to be more fulfilling than any relationship. Any relationship. And even if a relationship is more fulfilling than that, that's because that relationship is pointing you to the presence that is within you. Find me the most fulfilling thing outside of you, and the reason that it's fulfilling is because it's pointing you to the presence and the consciousness that you truly are. So that's all I have for this video. Once again, if you want to work with me one-on-one personally, hit the link that's in the description box of this video to apply for a free consultation. Also, once again, if you want to work with me one-on-one personally, I don't know why I said that twice. If you want to check out the group program, that's the second thing I want to share with you. The link in the description is always going to be there as well until it's over. Have yourself a great day, and I'll see you in the next video.